DJ PK reminding you not to miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win tickets to the Summer Unity Tour featuring Collective Soul and live with special guest Our Lady Peace, July 13th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Get tickets now at livenation.com or listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win.
That's good. We need more summer unity. A lot of people getting upset in the summers.
With his son on the team, Shaq is now the general manager of Sacramento State. What is going on with college sports? Eric, I love Shaq, but he's going to get bored with that role.
I love Shaq is a pretty old place where we can get together. I love Shaq, baby. I love Shaq, baby.
Love Shaq. That's where it's at. Matt, please do not be another Sanders-like daddy-son situation. Doesn't want a lot of drama out of Sacramento State. I don't think you have to worry about that. Way to go, Yuck.
I am heading down the Atlanta Highway. He loves Shaq. I love Shaq, baby. They got their whole introduction set up. Again, I help another athletic program.
Thank goodness. Sac State needs all the help they can get. You got to raise like another 20 or 30 million bucks.
Oh, they will. They're emerging. You mark my words. You thought Boise State came out of nowhere as a junior college?
Pac-12, Mountain West, somebody will want them.
Pacific Division of the NBA?
If they come up with another few million.
With Shaq can give him a few million. I mean, this cut off one of his advertisements, his businesses. My gosh, that guy's a mogul.
Brian says it's all about big money and less about the quality of the game. Tradition's a thing of the past. College sports is not what it used to be.
By definition a tradition a thing of the past?
It has to be, actually. Can't really be a thing of the future. You do want it to be a thing of the present, but it's only a thing of the present because it's a thing of the past.
Right.
If it's not a thing of the past, it's a thing of the present, we call it a new thing.
Yeah.
We don't call it tradition. Yeah.
Right. So I would argue with that a little bit. Of course it's a tradition is a thing of the past.
Good point, Brian. Rock solid.
New traditions, they're forthcoming.
I want to high five Brian. That's the kind of thing I would have said. Thanks for channeling me, Brian. Good work. I like it a lot.
You know, the thing that I would say to it is history is a thing of the past.
Fact.
Yeah. So, what's he going to do? It's a non-paid position.
Show up at games and be Shaq, be himself, bring the celebrity into the gym/arena, wherever they're playing.
Yeah, but I don't know that works.
No. Well, it's good for what it is, but to your point about does it work, is that going to help them, win the Big Sky tournament and get to the NCAA, which at that level is a sign of a great season. If you're in the Big Sky, you qualify for the NCAA tournament, high fives and handshakes all around, as Clocky used to say.
Yeah. I just don't know what this means. Is this a ceremonial figurehead?
I think it's got to be.
Is he going to actually do work?
No. Is he going to be
then why do
scouting out high school?
Well, meeting with recruits.
Maybe I don't know how good.
Assistants and calling recruits. Why you got to be careful because it'll be interesting to see what he's designated as. Is he a legitimate member of the staff and then therefore has to abide by the NCAA rules when it comes to recruiting? Not that there seems to be much enforcement of rules anymore.
There you go.
But can he meet with recruits on campus and say, hey, Henry, or not Henry, my son Mike, he was a pretty good player in the league and blah, blah, blah. And so, right. and Bibby wants to be, he's got his heart into this. I can see, Bibby to me seems like, and he's a Phoenix guy. His kid played at ASU and then over at New Mexico. And so I've known of Mike in the Phoenix area. I believe he coached at Shadow Mountain, was it? So he's been wanting to do this for a while. I know people who know him. And you know somebody who knows him too. And was involved in the high school circles. And so this is something that he's wanted to do. So I believe he is completely sincere about it. I don't think you can half-heart what he's doing. So he's trying to make his mark. Reminds me of what Damon Stoudemire has been trying to do.
So is Bibby, and I don't know this, the Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq's kid, is on the team. He transferred from Florida A&M. Is this about keeping Shaq around the program, getting him to come to more games?
I would think it's to help the program. It's not just to have him sit in the stands.
Does he come to practices and work with a big man or whatever?
Because he can do.
Is he gonna?
He can come to games as a fan.
Assess high school talent.
Why?
I know, but does this give it a little more loyalty and draw him out? I know. I'm trying to come up with what he's going to do because I largely think it's ceremonial.
Well, then why do it? You get the buzz for a day. And then the fact is, the folks who are going to go to Sacramento State games are going to be family and friends. And after a while, they're Shaq.
Yes.
All right, I'm over it. They're Shaq. He's sitting there watching the game. Okay, good. He's a human being watching his son.
I don't get how this...
like all dads and moms do.
Like Andrew Luck is retired, so he can go live in Palo Alto, be around the program, and be all in. Steph Curry...
He was taking snaps the other day. I showed you.
He was. Steph Curry is still playing, so he's the assistant GM at his alma mater, Davis. I mean, how much can he be around?
Yeah, but I think that's for now. Maybe that's something that he might want to do down the line.
In a different situation because it's alma mater, so maybe he's got, tug on the heartstrings.
Well, it's home.
Yeah.
It's where he grew up.
Whereas with Shaq, it's not home. And the kid's there, so there's a now to it. You invest in the program while your kid is there. But after your kid's gone.
Right, and we see that at the high school level. There was a guy who was an assistant golf coach in the 4 years that his daughter was on the team. And then she graduates.
And that was the end of that?
Yeah.
And even if it's not in those situations, it usually isn't.
An extremely beautiful person took his place. Because his daughter graduated, and now he's working for Tiger.
And they needed to find a handy PE coach who knew something about golf.
Yeah, so, that's a good question. What level of commitment is there? Is it just during the duration? And maybe Sacramento State is just looking for that buzz to have that, to understand that it's, everyone basically now is on a one-year commitment, a one-season commitment. And so who knows what will happen next year and so forth. And
coaches are feeling that in the short run too. So maybe whatever the rules are, and I don't know what they are, and like you said, I don't even know if they're being followed. And I don't know if anything happens, you don't follow them either. So, but does Bibby have players meet with Shaq? Is that what this is?
Yeah, when they're on campus and he's there, recruits. I believe Mike Bibby is 100% serious. And I believe that he wants to use this job as a springboard. I don't think he views himself as a lifelong Sacramento State coach, although obviously his best years in the NBA were with the Kings in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. So maybe he has an affinity for the community, and he's comfortable in that community, and he can see himself coaching there for the next 10 years.
And this is an unpaid voluntary role, so I suppose whatever they get out of Shaq is better than nothing.
It's just the nature of the way things are changing at such an extreme level. And where are we going with college sports? You asked the question of the draft guy yesterday about the SEC and
160 players. Over half of the draft came from the top two leagues.
But so you're acting like, okay, this is just going to be bad news for the ACC and the Big 12. And yet a player or two decided ASU Texas. Mm-hmm. And Texas has 6 guys drafted, and ASU has 1. But yet there was no difference between the two teams.
Because there's probably 35 players playing a lot of snaps in that game. And so all those other guys are impacting the game too, for better or for worse.
Right. So I just don't know that it necessarily means everything is going to be gloom and doom for the Big 12 because they're not going to have the money. How is that any different than the way it's been? You look at Ohio State had the most guys drafted that they've had in most years.
14.
Yeah. I'm talking about years, not the number of guys drafted.
Oh.
What's changed? Nothing's changed for them.
They're loaded.
And Georgia had 13 guys, and 3 years ago they had 15. What's changed? Nothing.
Do you think it's going to accelerate?
No, that's the point.
You don't think that there'll be even more guys getting drafted out of those two leagues?
No.
Interesting. I mean, a little bit of it's changed. They can have more guys drafted because they have bigger leagues, they have more teams. The Oregon guys that get drafted now count as Big Ten players.
And Oregon had 10.
And they didn't used to.
But what's new with Oregon?
Yeah.
What's changed? Nothing has changed. They just changed conferences, and they're getting more money.
And they've been loaded for 10, 15 years. I mean, they're what, 30, going on 30 years now of playing high-level football.
How much
first Rose Bowl.
Oregon is trying to win the national championship?
How
much more money do you need? Because if that's your standard, they have failed every year. And they have an enormous amount of money. So they need more money? That's going to make the difference? More money?
I'm not sure, but just in case, here's more money. I think that's really, you got a guy at Nike who's like conquered the world. I mean, he's built this global brand and all that. So as he's collecting things, what's one thing he doesn't have? College football title for this school that's really emotionally important
I think
to him.
it's sick that an 85-year-old does that, but
nevertheless.
Yeah.
So he's chasing one thing that money can't buy. I mean, it helps you buy it.
They're going to get more money. Great. More money. They've had an outstanding program. Money has gotten them to be outstanding.
These things are all true, but is that going to stop them from seeing one tight end? And for their 10 NFL draftees, maybe they don't have an NFL player at that position, and they go pluck it off somebody else's roster.
Fine. Great. They've already been doing that. How's that any different? They plucked Bo Nix off of Auburn's roster. Did they win the title?
Okay, well,
no.
that's a different thing because nobody thought Bo Nix was Bo Nix when he did that, and they got him playing at a higher level. But he was a disappointment at Auburn. I mean, he was. And he was a massive hit at Oregon.
And I'm sure he got paid massive money to be at Oregon. So that's my whole point. They had Dillingham, who rejuvenated his career. Mm-hmm. So you can have all the money in the world you want, but is that going to guarantee you that? Because I got this guy over here, and his staff is really, really good. And so you can have, the next year can be 32 SEC and Big Ten titles. Draftees. Oh, they can literally have the whole thing, but only one team is going to win it.
Right.
And the other teams, Oregon will fail again next year.
But if you lose your star player, even if it doesn't help them win the title, your team's still down that you lost your star player. Or if you lose your coach or coordinator or whatever.
So what? That doesn't guarantee anything.
It doesn't guarantee them, but for the fans of the other schools, it's like, am I going to keep getting ripped off here? Am I ever going to have my guys?
Then you go rip off somebody else. You go get Cam Scatterbo from Sacramento State. We've come full circle.
But if Oregon brings Dillingham home to be the head coach at Oregon,
then Dillingham's the only guy in the entire planet who can do this? No,
but
then you go get somebody else.
That'd be a downer at Arizona State.
And Gordon Hayward leaving was a downer for about a half a day, and then you got Mitchell.
Right.
The world will continue to go on.
We get that, so but it's still a downer.
Big deal. There's millions of downers every day. I'm junior high. We all don't get a trophy. So what? Life isn't fair. Get over it.
People know they're downers every day, but they, come to the Jazz or ASU or Oregon or whoever, hoping they're going to win and it's going to be great.
You and your friggin' hope. I mean, you go to work, you roll up your sleeves, all those cliches, and you fight some more. And the Devils came within a play of beating Texas, which has enormous amounts of money. All I'm saying is these changes, they're not really changing anything. Everything is staying the same. The power is still with Ohio State. It's always been with Ohio State. It's been with Georgia? It's always been with Georgia.
Well,
how is that changing anything?
It hasn't always been with Georgia. I mean, Georgia had their 35 or 40 years without a title because the power was with Alabama. The power is with LSU. Now,
so
the power in the SEC.
Substitute Alabama versus Georgia, whatever.
The power in the SEC does stay with 5 teams, and the rest of the league is just there to get beat up.
So Georgia went 11-2 and didn't win the national title. My heart bleeds for you.
Right.
Hey, come on.
Yeah. And Oregon wants
And
to
when
be-
was the last time Ohio State won a title? It had been a number of years. That's not it. That's why college football, once you get down to the final, it's boring because it's the same teams all the time. You have to find enjoyment in the journey along the way. And that's why you rush the field in that moment. When Utah beat USC here at the Rice-Eccles Stadium there 2-3 years ago, whenever it was, the amount of joy that everybody had.
Except for that small sliver in the southeast corner.
And bleep
Southwest corner, sorry.
I know what you meant. And, yeah, but I'm talking about all the Ute fans. Did it matter that it didn't end in the national title?
In that moment, it didn't matter at all.
No.
Not even a little bit. In
So
that
that's
moment,
what-
it was like, that's incredible.
That's why, and you were with me an hour after the Devils lost to Texas. I got over it. It was a phenomenal season.
You were over it.
You gotta enjoy those moments. If you're just based on the final outcome, then your life is gonna suck. Even Michael Jordan only won 6.
Only 6.
Right.
What a great phrase.
So he talks about this. He had far more disappointment. Kobe only won 5. If that's the ultimate barometer of whether you're in or not, that's stupid. And college football is the most predictable sport we have. And it's supposed to change now? It's only going to become more predictable, but it's already been predictable for decades.
That was why I asked him, is it going to become even more predictable?
But once it's predictable, it can't become more predictable. There's no such thing as it's more predictable if it's predictable. There isn't.
We'll have to leave that right there. DJ PK, when we come back, Eric Francis, senior NHL columnist and analyst for Sportsnet, on the unpredictable Stanley Cup playoffs and the moves that the Utah Hockey Club could, would, or should make in the offseason. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Travis Hunter said that playing both ways in football is harder than what Shohei Ohtani does in baseball. A corner and a receiver, you're basically using the same skill set. Shohei Ohtani is playing 2 different positions that are completely unrelated. Being a good pitcher has absolutely nothing to do with being a good hitter. That's like being really good at algebra and poetry.
You're Leonardo da Vinci. You're not Stevie Wonder. It's like, yeah, Stevie Wonder's a great drummer and harmonica player and guitar player and piano player. It's like, yeah, he's musical. Da Vinci being the greatest painter of all time and maybe our greatest inventor. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, that's not the same thing.
What were you working with?
It's like Carl Lewis being good at the 100 and the 200.
It's like, what? How?
How is that even possible?
He's fast.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Eric Francis, senior NHL columnist and analyst for Sportsnet. Eric, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good. We have many questions about the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have questions about the future of the Utah Hockey Club. But let's just start with the nature of the sport and the postseason. How much can the best teams really control this, dominate, and win because you're smarter and you work harder and you put together a better team and you got an eye for talent? And how much is there just something that's kind of elusive and in the wind? Like, I know it's there, but I can't quite put my fingers around it. And you just got to have that little bit of magic to succeed in the postseason.
Well, I think you need a combination of all that stuff. You know, you need some luck, too. I mean, you need some timely goals. You need to be, you know, if not the most physical team, you need to be one of the most physical teams. Like, there's so many things that have to come together for you to win the Stanley Cup. But if you're missing one ingredient, you could be hooped. So I think that's part of why, you know, here in Canada anyway, and you know, and I know it's growing down there. You know, people absolutely love how much heightened the intensity gets. And the physicality and the emotion and all the different ingredients you need, they all have to come together as soon as the playoffs start. We think it's pretty fun to watch, and I hope people in Utah are starting to really love it too.
Yeah, I think it's definitely growing. There's no question. We hear it on the streets. A lot of it's just anecdotal, but when you get 15, 20 anecdotal pieces of evidence, you start to think there's something to it. And I think that we, as being, sports talk show hosts, we get people want to talk about it in the community. So it definitely is growing here, and it'll be something. And I think it'll take a major leap when the postseason gets here, because then all that stuff, we understand it in basketball terms because of the Jazz. We understand that there's the regular season and the postseason, and if you bring the same intensity, you're going to lose. That the postseason has a lot more intensity toward it. And look no further than Tampa Bay versus Florida. It seems like those guys are having 5-minute major penalties every 5 minutes, and it's getting real chippy big time. Is that just a classic example of the physicality that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they have a nice rivalry going. It's been going on for years. It's obviously baked into the fact that they're both in the same state. They play each other a lot during the regular season. But, I think more than anything, they've both won Stanley Cups recently, and they both still are in that window where they could contend again for another cup. Those two teams both know what it takes, and they know that, building up an intensity and hatred for the opposition, although that's very un-Canadian, it's part of NHL playoff hockey. So those two guys, I think most people could have predicted that was going to be perhaps the most vitriolic series of all of them. It's been one of the more entertaining ones because of that, and so they're not disappointing at all. And I love watching it. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, like you guys, in the Utah Hockey Club is right there. Like they're so close to breaking through and getting into that first playoff spot for the first time in a long time for the franchise. And I know, once it hits, and once that first game hits, and like the fans, you're a basketball town. You know what it's like in the playoffs, how it just jumps another level. And I'm excited for Utah for when they get into the playoffs as early as next year, and everybody starts to really understand, oh my God, this is a whole other level of even fan intensity, and that's pretty cool too. It takes over the city, and it's a ton of fun to be part of.
Yeah, the thing is, in the NBA, once you get in, then you tend to have to earn your stripes. Lose at first, then win a little, get a little deeper.
Yeah.
But in hockey, anything can happen, right? 2 years ago, the Bruins have 135 points, and they are out first round. Thanks for playing, guys. That was fun. Now the Winnipeg Jets, 116 points, best record in the NHL. Highest point total. They're playing the 8th-seeded Blues. Are they really in trouble? I mean, it was 2-0. It looked like they were cruising. 2 games in St. Louis. Now it's 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I thought St. Louis would win this series, and I'll tell you why. I mean, and hey, it's not over yet. Don't get me wrong, but Winnipeg has a pretty long history of not being able to get it done in the playoffs. Now this year, obviously, they were a much better team than they've ever been, and so you'd think that they could rewrite that history, but they've got to prove it first. The other thing is, the beauty of, and my guess is when Utah finally sneaks into the playoffs, they'll do it the same way as St. Louis did this year in Minnesota. They'll sneak in right near the end, and you got to go on a heater to get in and get that last spot in the East or the West. And it's the team that gets in usually has a pretty good chance at disrupting things, because they come in as the hottest team in the NHL usually. They have to be. Like the Blues won 12 games in a row there. I know the Calgary team that I cover, they were 11-2-3 down the stretch and ended up losing out on the final playoff spot in a tiebreaker because the Blues, won 12 in a row. Like it's so Blues came in red hot and with tremendous confidence, and I thought that they might be able to disrupt Winnipeg, and so far so good.
We know with Utah, with all the young guys that they have, Clayton Keller is the captain. He's only 26. They got a couple other guys that are barely 20, 21, all that type of stuff. Josh Doan, I think, might be 22 or 23. And they've made this progress, right? And so we've heard about it now for a year because we've known for about a year that the team was coming here, that they're on the verge. They're right there, ready to break through. And they've improved this season over last season, but they didn't get the ultimate goal, which is to get in. And now they got to go through another regular season. My question for you is, how much do you need playoff experience in order to improve your game? You take a look at a kid for the Stars like Wyatt Johnston, 21 years of age, right? So he's right there with Cooley and Gunther in their ages, but yet he's already played 43 playoff games. He's had 3 playoff games where he's had at least 2 goals. So it seems, I'm wondering from your experience, and you would know better, the necessity to have the playoff experience in order to take your individual game at another level.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think you can, even as a fan, as a player, you can watch and just see the next level that hockey, kind of jumps to. There have been many players over the years who've been superstars during the regular season. I'll give you an example. Mitch Marner's a guy in Toronto who, perennially finishes top 10 in scoring in the National Hockey League. And then every year in the playoffs, kind of like the Leafs, he just disappears. He's almost, symbolic of what happens to the Toronto Maple Leafs every year in the playoffs. Now, this year may be different. I don't know. They've been in, they've had so many chances to try and flip that script that maybe this is the year they start to do it. Either way, until you prove yourself in the playoffs and until you can understand that your game needs to go to a different level and a much different game where you need to be more physical and be able to take more hits, then you haven't really experienced, what it's like to be a true pro. And so the growth that comes with even that first year, if Utah gets in and loses in 6 games, and it happens to so many teams in their first time in, they all walk away going, oh, my gosh, we had no idea. There's a very famous story that Wayne Gretzky tells about his team had just lost in the Stanley Cup final. They'd never won. He was a young kid. They lost to the New York Islanders. The Islanders had won their 4th straight in a row. And Wayne Gretzky tells the story that him and Mark Messier are walking by the dressing room, and they look in, and they expected there to be a massive party going on with the New York Islanders. It's their 4th Stanley Cup. And he, I'm sure he's exaggerating to make a point, but he looked in, and all he saw were ice bags and guys limping around, and it was a very subdued celebration. But that's the moment he realized that's what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. You have to sacrifice your body even more than you thought possible to get it done. And then the Oilers went on to win the next 4 straight Stanley Cups. So maybe the lesson was learned.
Mm-hmm.
So the Utah Hockey Club, 89 points, as PK points out, that's like 12 more than the year before. They did add Sergachev. That was a huge acquisition. Now they added some other guys as well, and they had injuries. Do you think just running it back will get them to the playoffs? Do you think they're missing something as a group that they need to add in 1, 2, 3 new players, whatever it is? What do you think the equation is to get to the postseason next year?
Well, I think running it back isn't a terrible idea. I mean, they've got so many young prospects and so many great, and even moving forward, I was looking at it last night, the draft picks coming up. I mean, this summer it's just one in every round, but next summer you're back to, Bill's been hoarding those picks for years, and it's ultimately it's going to pay off. Like TJ Ginla is a guy who everybody in this city, in Calgary, absolutely wanted in the draft so badly because his father is such a legend in this city. But, him missing the whole season was unfortunate, and of course it'll set him back in terms of his development. I'm not sure he's going to be able to break through and make the team this year, but, guys like that. Sean Dursey missed most of the year. I'm so high on him. I think he's such a great leader, great defenseman at a very young age. I think that the core that is being built there, and you surround them and you start adding the odd, young superstars that are coming along, like a Ginla. I really think that could get the job done. Now, that said, there is cap space available at Bill Armstrong's disposal, and there also is that they have so many draft picks moving forward that I think that you could at some point trade some of that in exchange for a proven superstar, a proven star anyway, who's already understand what it takes to get into the playoffs and have success in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point soon Bill made a big splash and grabbed somebody like that by trading in some of their draft capital. But if he decides not to do that, I totally understand that too, because the patience he's exhibited and the way he's built this team, around the draft, I think is a great way to do it.
Fan base in this town is a little bit scarred with the basketball because there's been a few players that didn't want to be here, and then they leave the first chance they get. And we've been going back, players turn down trades and whatnot to come here, even though the team was winning at the time. You've got a young, enthusiastic owner. You've got management. Looks like they know what they're doing, and they're building, in the top state-of-the-art practice facility at the south end of town and all that stuff. Where I'm going with this with you is when players are looking, maybe they're a free agent or they're just looking, they're already with the team, whatever team they might be, and they want to stay there. What are the things that they're looking for that help them make those decisions? Man,
I think at the end of the day, guys want to win. And, hey, I know that scenario you just painted, and I get it. In Calgary here, they've lost in the last 3 years alone, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, like some real superstars in the National Hockey League have all said, look, we're not interested in staying any longer. We want to be closer to the home down in the States, or whatever the excuse is. They want to chase more money. But at the end of the day, what they all really, really want, and I know each one of those guys I just named is the same way, they want to win. So if it can be proven that the team is trending in the right direction, and with this great young core that I think is being built there, I think that can really attract a lot of guys. I'm not saying that Utah's going to be able to go out and sign guys in free agency, because you're still battling against the Floridas of the world and the Dallases and places where it's warm all year long, and you got the beach, and there's so many other things lifestyle-wise that Utah and Calgary can't offer. But in terms of guys turning down trades or guys just not wanting to be here at all, even if they're drafted here, I think that turns very quickly when they see the vision and it's laid out in front of them and they see the direction that the organization's going. So I think there's lots of hope in believing that sort of trend won't affect this team anytime soon, because I do think that everything's moving in the right direction.
7 openings in the National Hockey League for coaches. Mike Sullivan recently, the most recent, I should say, and it seemed like it was a mutual decision. Obviously Pittsburgh had been there a decade, won 2 cups and all. I already heard that he might be the leading candidate for the Rangers. What do you think is going to happen there? Yeah, I don't know. I've covered this league. Excuse me, covered this league for 30 years, and trying to predict where certain guys are going to go in the coaching carousel is a bit of a mug's game. I don't even want to hazard a guess as to who's going to end up where. I mean, one of the dominoes that I think will affect it all is Rick Tocchet in Vancouver, and he has to make a decision on whether or not he wants to stay. The ball is in his court. The team has not renewed the team option, so now he has to decide if he wants to go in as a lame duck coach for the final year of his contract. My guess is he won't. And then that will set off a whole set of dominoes, because I think of all the guys that are available or could be available for those 7 positions, I do think Rick Tocchet is the hottest of all the commodities. And so any team who thinks they have a chance at him will wait on his decision, has probably already talked to him. And then once he makes his decision, I think you'll start to see a lot of the positions filled around the National Hockey League. And, the National Hockey League is famous for recycling old coaches, so it may just be a game of musical chairs where guys just flip cities and move all around, and there's very little new young blood injected in the coaching ranks. That's been a criticism of the league for a lot of years. They've been trying to address it of late, but we'll see with this round, how they go.
Eric, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Thanks for talking a little hockey with us this morning.
Thanks, guys. I'm so glad you guys are in the league. I had such a great time when we were there this year, and I look forward already to coming back.
Eric Francis, senior NHL columnist and analyst for Sportsnet, joining us right here on The Zone.
Didn't he seem like a hockey guy, a little bit of a raspy voice?
Yeah.
check you into the boards right now.
He probably got somebody probably hit him in the larynx on the way into the boards.
He'll do that right in the.
And there were a couple expressions. I'm like, well, that must be a Canadian thing. It's a mugs game. I don't know what that is, but it seems like it's a fool's errand.
Yeah, he's based out of Calgary. And he's covered the league for 30
They live and
years.
breathe in hockey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And hockey players live in smaller or colder towns.
Yeah.
Calgary's got some comparisons with Salt Lake.
Yeah, he mentioned, wanting to get back to the States. We're in the States.
We've got that going for us.
But
Josh Doan's not going to get much closer to Arizona, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, Vegas is closer. I mean, you can, but there aren't that many teams that are closer.
Yeah, we understand that. And the LA teams over there are closer, too,
Sure.
for that matter. But we'll see. Have to see, what they build and what is attractive, and maybe they don't go that route. It's just a matter of re-signing your own guys.
Right. And they do sign longer contracts in the NHL. I mean, you just read the headlines, and as they do, you just realize these guys are all signing longer deals than NBA players.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. I mean,
So
guaranteed
once
money.
you can get them to re-up one time, then there's a good chance you got them for a long time. All right, DJ PK, it's 97.5, The Zone. Riley Jensen, top of the hour. We'll talk NFL draft with him. Strong feelings on Jackson Dart. We'll get to that coming up. Stay with us.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
She bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss Minky Monday on The Zone. Tune in all day next Monday, May 5th, to win Minky Couture blankets, the original classy blanket. Minky Couture makes the perfect Mother's Day gift, and Zone listeners get 50% off with code ZONE50. Don't miss Minky Monday on 97.5 The Zone.
I can tell you, my wife is a Minky Couture lady all the way. She took a nap the other day, and she said, I was cold. I forgot to get my Minky Couture blanket out of the other room. And I said, you should have just called me up. I would have got it, and I would have brought it, and I would have placed it on you very gently, and you wouldn't even barely have been awake the whole time. Because chivalry, I mean, I'm Patrick C. Kinahan over here.
Yes, sure. It's your middle name.
Yes, I'm speaking gospel truth.
This is why the cameras are great.
Yeah, buddy boy, we got cameras for that.
I know. I was just playing to the
Put your
camera.
finger down.
Get on with it. Yeah, okay,
I can get on with speaking truth.
Okay.
You're just a heretic.
Okay. Thanks.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, look it up, Walter Cronkite School of Journalism graduate.
But we don't use the fancy words. We write and communicate to the people, not to the elite like you.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm a common man. I'm a common man. You get more common than me. In fact, I thought about my rap name was going to be Common, but then somebody already took it.
That just came to you.
I don't know if it's even come to me yet. What do you got?
A belief or opinion contrary to Orthodox religious doctrine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he thought there was a little pause. Can I make that work? Oh, yeah, it's good enough. I can actually hear your brain.
Trying to analyze
I can
me.
hear your brain. It's just like you're the old school safe cracker with a stethoscope up there listening to the tumblers fall in. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. That's who you are. Precisely, man.
So to get to where the Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club overlap, to the part
in the
that Ryan
postseason?
Smith really cares about, as he worries about the good young players and whether they will stay and whether they will come too, but mostly whether they will stay.
Well, they will come, Ray.
Okay.
They will come.
Well, a couple guys have already come, and they've said all the right things. I mean, Sergachev got traded for, right? And Olamada got traded in the middle of the year. Well, not middle, but during the season.
First third of the season.
Yeah, the fact is that these guys, I think Sergachev and Mata are your better examples because the guys who are on the Coyotes, obviously they're going to love it more here than there.
The crowd and the passion. And
everything. Right. That was on the way out. That was dying, literally, right? So you come here and you're in this phenomenal honeymoon stage where people are, if you're into hockey, you're already sold. But there was literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands, even more, that got into hockey. Hey, I started following a little bit. I liked it. We've all had it. Multiple people. Hey, I went to a game. Boy, I really enjoyed it. And I hadn't been there. Blah 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 blah. All that type of stuff. I understand what they're saying. I didn't cover NHL here. We didn't have it. I did cover some of the minor league hockey for the Watchdog. But in California, where we had a plethora of everything, I've interviewed Wayne Gretzky. It's not like hockey was brand new to me. I've gotten away from it because we didn't require it up here. But I know it's exciting to a lot of people because I covered LA Kings postseason games. So here, these guys, these youngsters are going to all enjoy it. It's a question of what level of sustaining power does it have. It'll level off some. Like all those baseball parks. Remember, like the Baltimore Camden Yards was that the first one?
It was
the retro park.
So
every game was sold out in the beginning.
The park they built before Camden Yards.
Yeah.
The last of the old ones. The people who missed the wave. It was the new Comiskey in Chicago, and it wasn't built for football, but it did have more of the cookie cutter feel.
Right.
And then Baltimore went and did something totally different, and everybody's like, "Well, that's awesome!" And the fans packed the place, and the other teams are like, A, that park is awesome, and then the other owners, B, it's also awesome they're packing the place.
Yeah.
So if you go to San Francisco, to Denver, to San Diego.
Seattle's San Francisco too.
Not Seattle, but yeah, San Francisco.
Seattle's beautiful.
But it doesn't have the Camden Yards feel. San Francisco, Denver, and San Diego, you can definitely feel the influence of Camden Yards in the architecture when you walk up to the stadium.
It has the area of being able to be downtown.
It does have
and
that.
Literally walk down.
Does.
I've done it. Walk down to the. I've done both stadiums actually. The football stadium for that matter too, because they're right next to each other.
They are.
And so
once you've done one, you've done the other. Yeah.
It has that type of appeal. I thought it was beautiful.
It definitely has the downtown feel. It's not a suburban stadium. It's right in the heart of the city.
And then now, and I've yapped about this multiple times, the Atlanta Stadium is out in the burbs, but that battery that they built, oh my freaking gosh, it is unbelievable. We stayed like 3 hours after the game.
They built an urban environment around it.
It was incredible.
And made all the money off the big real estate development deal.
Yeah, they had multiple live music acts.
If you've been
outside the stadium.
If you've been to our new AAA stadium, it's surrounded by construction. They're doing the same thing. They're going to build a whole thing around it.
So I think that going forward is going to be exciting to players. Now, you got to win. You got to get money, and you got to win. And if that's the hardest part, winning. You can do all that other stuff. Frank Layden used to say, we can give the best game experience for our customers, meaning the ushers, the concessions. Everything is first rate. We can't control winning out on the floor.
Right.
But you got to win. And I mean, for a long time, the franchise did win.
But players have not wanted to be here when the team was winning. I mean, the team was winning when Hayward left.
I know.
You know, and Mitchell and D. Will and
they're jerks.
Derek Harper not wanting to be traded here. Now, the whole thing about Ingram this season, okay, well, they're not winning now. And he's also an East Coast guy. There's a whole thing about moving down to the States. There's an East-West thing. And haven't had people who've married into the family from the eastern side of the country, and they'll say, you Western people get your whole thing. Well, you're an Eastern person. You want to go home to the East. And she did.
And eventually I will leave.
There you go. But you'll leave for the desert. You won't leave for Jersey.
Well, you got me there.
Yeah. But I do think, and Ingram's an East Coast guy. So we'll see what happens when he's able to get out of Toronto. Where does he go? He grew up in Carolina. He went to Duke. I mean,
you're speaking of Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were thinking you were talking about Connor.
No, Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
Because there was this story midseason about, would the Jazz do a deal, but it didn't really go very far because he didn't want to commit long term.
I got you.
Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up, the NFL draft is in the book. Riley Jensen feels very strongly about one quarterback in the draft, and we'll talk to him about transfer portal, too. Stay with us right here on The Zone.